All right, and welcome to the show. This is a weekly jargon. I am Jose Rodriguez,
Rohi Zachariah.
and today, Christmas Eve 2025.
Boom.
What do we have going today, Rohi?
Um, it's I think it's fitting, but it's talking about Saint Nick, and it's still do you still believe, and I think it's tough. Why I thought that would be appropriate. My kids are getting a little older, and if kids are watching, be careful. They struggle with still believing in Santa Claus.
And I think there reaches a point in that kid's life where they start uncovering that sometimes a Saint Nick is either an uncle or maybe some family member. And I don't know, can't recall what age it was, but when I would go to the malls or my mom would take us somewhere, whether it was school, and you had Santa Claus there. I don't know, maybe second, third grade, when you started thinking, hey, wait a minute. It doesn't look like a real beard,
Yeah.
And then you would see the people that did have that beard, that portrayed the Santa Claus, the professionals, right? And then you'd be in doubt, oh, wait a minute, this one does look like a Santa Claus, right? And that was the image that we had as kids. But there is a point, I think, in every child's life, even with an adult, that you may realize and say, well, wait a minute, something's not right here. But I think the mythical figure that we've seen does have some background, right?
Yeah.
And you will give us some background on who Saint Nicholas, also known as Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Let us know, Rohi.
Yeah. So Saint Nick, so he's from the 4th century out of Turkey, and he was actually a wealthy person. And his story comes about because his wealth. He was a bishop, and he just had the basically being known as a gift giver, and not only that, but he actually had some other things I wasn't aware of. That he was also known to have calmed a storm to rescue sailors, which he's also one of the saints for mariners or sailors. So it's key, because I know with my youngest right now, this is the first year where he's like, well, Santa's not real, and I'm like, he was real, and kind of in this battle of like, Saint Nick, he was a real person, and and then also being Catholic, playing into the part of what it means to be saint. I mean, like we everybody call it Saint Nicholas, and what does that really mean? And especially in our faith, what does it mean to be a saint? That basically in the Catholic religion, it's somebody who we can prove is actually in heaven. So somebody who did exist and is still there.
So, but that story isn't the story that we hear, right?
No, it's not.
This
no.
is I guess a figure that lives out in the North Pole.
Yeah.
Obviously, and they personify him as this, miracle guy that's at everybody's chimney on the Christmas Eve to deliver these gifts. But one would almost think that kind of like Jesus, is that people that are Christians, devout Christians, they have this Holy Spirit that comes in them because they believe in this Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that's been what's been misconstrued over the gift of giving, right? This is where you receive the Spirit, and that should be the gift of the light that you see, right? I mean, people can misinterpret that, but again, when it comes to the commercialization of what we see today for Christmas, then it's an actual material thing, and it's the material thing that defines Christmas nowadays, right? Whether it's a gift or the act of giving and what have you, right?
Yeah, and I would say that is where I think the better story to relate to is the Grinch, and I like the story of the Grinch, not for what you probably think, not for the coming around and his heart growing 3 times, but there's a core to the Grinch that talks about the gift part, and obviously with Saint Nick, he was giving to the poor, and it was about helping those in need, and the Grinch part for me sticks out because I was talking to somebody yesterday about what'd you get your kids for Christmas, getting gifts, and at some point I tell them, like, I don't like giving my kids gifts. I'd rather them give somebody else who needs the gift a gift, And again, I know it borders on that Grinchy, Scroogey kind of mentality, but it's understanding that Christmas at its heart is about giving to those in need. And my kids don't need. They're plenty well off. They got a million toys in their closet. They don't need. And I would rather and give them the thought of there's somebody else who needs it more than you, and that's where we should be, and that's Christmas to me. So.
And since this is a annual tradition that we've done, I think we're going on to this third year now with the Christmas spirit, right? And we talk about this quite often, but I'd like the viewers to comment on this and tell me what's your idea of Christmas. Is it giving gifts? I mean, and we're going to have, two aisles here. People that feel like if you don't give those gifts, Rohi, then it feels like the person that's not receiving them from you, that expects to receive them from you, whether it's family, your spouse, your kids, and what have you. And again, to the statement you made, which I think is very powerful, is that we don't need and we don't see it that way. And there's many folks that see it that way, Rohi, that they don't expect anything because they have it, right? That there's no need to accumulate more materials. But again, that's one side of the aisle. The other side may say, well, you're not rejoicing in that spirit of what we do here in America is to give because or receive, right? There's this expectation of receiving this, whatever it may be. It could be a gift, it could be jewelry, it could be toys, but nevertheless, people have that expectation of receiving something.
Yeah, and I think that's it's the hard part because we had talked about with my wife when we had our kids, like, do we go down the trail of telling them about the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus and all these somewhat mythical people, right? And and obviously there's traditions behind a lot of those other characters, but it and it's kind of the difficulty because of at some point when the kids maybe realize, like, okay, especially the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny aren't real. Sorry, kids, if you're out there, but it's almost like, why did we portray this lie to our kids to feed into some of this narrative? But with Santa Claus, it's different to me because it's like Valentine's Day. I mean, there was a Saint Valentine, just like there was a Saint Nicholas.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. So so playing into some of that narrative is in those two characters, I think is a little bit more powerful when you get to the core of what they stood for. Giving to the poor, giving to the needy. But it definitely puts a divide in, should we just do that? Or should we just say, hey, look, mom and dad provided, maybe, God gave us the money, we were able to raise that money for him taking care of us, but we were the ones that provided those gifts to you. Mom and dad, that's who it's from, not Santa Claus.
Yeah. And I think you have a point there. I think that if our society would warm up to the idea that this is the introduction of what good means, right? Versus let's just start off with the commercialization of this figure that we're going to utilize to the maximum, right? We're going to try to squeeze every single penny out of this season from consumers because we want them to get into the spirit. We want them to go out and shop, which in fact is going to keep the economy running. But the majority of folks out there, and it's funny because I just saw my daughter experience this, is that she felt this need that she had to get all these gifts for certain individuals in her life, whether they're friends, some family, close family, mother, father. And as I was walking with her down these stores, I said, look, I don't need anything from you. You don't understand my way of looking at it. I look at it differently. Maybe when I was your age, I felt the same way because there was a time, Rohi, when I felt that I had to give all my aunts, all my family, something very small. So I was stressing out, roaming around the mall, trying to figure out what would be the perfect gift for them. And again, what I was expecting in return was that, oh, thank you. We wanted to have that. But years later, I uncovered that, man, that's a lot of stress for someone, especially someone that may have been strapped for cash. And at that time, I didn't have a lot of cash. So all I was giving is little gifts. I guess it's the thought that counts. And I keep on hearing that, the thought that counts. But truthfully, I mean, again, this is my 15-year-old. I'm going through it, and I'm seeing her kind of stressing out a little bit. Look, hey, you go get whatever you think is necessary for your friends, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe there's a mutual understanding that you're going to give each other something. But don't stress yourself over for me. I don't think your brother needs anything, and he's never demanded anything, because they have. I mean, we try to teach them that you already have everything. There's no need for you. I understand the spirit. I understand all that. But soon after this is done, you'll still continue to receive, and that's not only the love, the financial means, and I mean, even trips when we go out. So don't worry about that. But it's hard to drill that into what our society is already, giving you almost on a weekly basis.
And again, that's the struggle with not being, again, the Scrooge is like I was talking to my daughter about it, and we were talking about Christmas and stuff, and I said, look, wash my car. You know what I mean? My car's a mess. You don't have to. It's not about the buying. I don't care that it came from a store. I don't care that it's in a box or it's new. Like, there's things that, again, the gift giving or it's seeing a need. If you look at me and you say, hey, look, Dad, your need is your car looks like a mess inside. That means more to me than, like you said, stressing and using your money and going and buying me something where I'm like, thanks. I don't, really need it, but thank you for that generosity, and you want it to be, again, well received, I guess, and that's the part, and it's the unnecessary stress. I mean, it's just like every time Christmas comes around, I know my wife says, what are you going to get to this? What are you going to get this person? I'm like, I have no idea. You mean, like, now I'm stressing for like weeks, and then she ends up getting it for me anyways. But I don't know.
I would be a mess if it wasn't for my wife Carmina. Typically, she's a very thoughtful person. And she says, well, I know you're not thinking of this. And sometimes you start thinking of yourself as a modern day Grinch. Are you the problem? Could you be the problem that's holding back the gift of giving, right? And I say, well, yes and no, right? Because there are times that the spirit, or it's very contagious sometimes. It's that feeling, like today, for example, we have the rain coming down, right? It's still somewhat cloudy, and it feels Christmassy, right? And so you want to get into that spirit. You're going to be with family, but at the same time, you can't hold back on things that you see, because after Christmas is done, where is that spirit moving forward? It's easier to turn a blind eye and say, oh, that person there doesn't, you know what I mean? It's kind of...
Well, and that is my number one pet peeve with Christmas is, and it from Thanksgiving to probably tomorrow, but the majority of the radio stations, Christmas, everything Christmas. December 26th, it's like Christmas vaporized, right? No more Christmas songs. People are taking down the decorations, taking down the tree, and for us, especially for Catholics, I mean, Christians all alike should be the same way. It's understanding that Christmas starts tomorrow. Father Saji, he would always be like so upset. Like, if you said Merry Christmas between Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve, he would yell at you. It's not Christmas. This is Advent. You're supposed to be not joyful, and you start your joyfulness on the 25th, and it doesn't end until January 6th.
Yeah.
And that was always frustrating, because it's like everybody wants to join in this Christmas thing. Now they say like Christmas is celebrated all around the world, even if people don't even believe, like they're not Christians, they have like nothing to do with Christmas, but they bought into this thing of like, hey, they give Christmas gifts, let's give these gifts too, and that's the part that bugs me the most is, okay, it's tomorrow we're gonna enjoy, we're gonna have gifts, but then it's 2 weeks of joyfulness and Christmas and Merry Christmas, Jose, and not, all right, take it down, let's get, it's over. That's not how it works.
So going back to Saint Nick, for example, what did he stand for? I mean, what was his primary principles of Christmas? You mentioned earlier that it was gift giving. This wealthy man that became infatuated about helping out those in need, right? And I think that was a concept, and that's why our episode today is, are you a believer? I mean, Santa Claus, I guess it's interchangeable with Saint Nick.
Well, I'll say this. So okay, so in the Catholic religion, they call them patron saints. So these are that a person has, generally when you talk about a saint, there was a focus, right? They weren't just good people in general. There was a focus. And for him, obviously it was about the gift giving of, children, those in need. It was about, for sailors and merchants. So again, what happens in the Catholic religion is that, if you were, let's say you were in need, or if you were a merchant, or you were, these sailors, you would pray for that particular protection. Hey, I'm going to be crossing the sea right now. Will you provide protection, right? It coincides when we think about Santa Claus and the letters you send to Santa Claus. Like, in some way, non-believers probably don't understand you're following in the footsteps of what it means to be a believer. You're putting a letter together. You're telling your kids, hey, put your most, your desires that you most need, right? I need, obviously it's got, commercialism has screwed it up because it's like, I need a doll, I need a new Lego set. It's like, not quite what we're talking about. But again, going back to the Grinchy, you have like, the cartoon one that came out, you have the daughter who's praying for her mom, right, for help. Like, that is what you do to a patron saint, is you're supposed to say, hey, Saint Nick, in this time of need, you were generous, you gave to the children, can you be of help to me? And we do that now by sending letters to Saint Nick, And so it's kind of odd that it's there and people don't realize what they're doing,
In the Catholic religion, Rohi, if you may, if you will, what do you call when a person prays not directly to Jesus, but does it in a, like, intermediate, like someone in the middle? What
intercession. You're looking for an intercession.
Okay.
So I mean,
in a way, because it happens a lot also with a lot of Mexican families, right? Where they pray to the Virgin Mary.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, and they're asking the Virgin Mary. They're pleading in a way, please, in their
for intercession.
Intercession.
Yeah.
And they're trying to request that these things be brought upon God, right? Jesus. And please, through you, we want to intercede.
I think that's probably the most misunderstood thing that you hear from non-Catholics is, they say, well, why do you pray to Mary, or why do you pray to Saint Nick, or any of these people? So as a believer, again, to have somebody who is a canonized saint, the Catholic Church has gone through a process of confirming, because again, when people die, not to sidetrack, but when people die, we don't know if we go to heaven, right? There's a big mystery of, like, if I get killed in a car crash home today, I know there's that warm fuzzy feeling that says, oh, Rohi must have gone to heaven, whatever. But we don't know, right? Maybe I really wasn't a great guy. Maybe I'm not in heaven. Sainthood, and the canonization, is a way of actually having a methodical process to say, through intercessions, through prayer, through these miracles that have happened, we know this person for a fact is in heaven with God and with Jesus. So when you say, well, why would you pray to this person? Well, again, like Saint Nick, there's people that are saints that had specific, like, they were just known for certain things, right? For protection, or for, guidance, whatever it may be. So what better person to say, hey, look, can you help pray for me and with me to Jesus? Yeah. So it's not just I'm saying, like, hey, Jose, you know what? We're going through a really tough time. Can you pray for me? And you're like, yeah, I'll pray for you. That's great. But let me get the ultimate team behind me, the ones that are actually up there, true saints, to pray along with me and for their help.
It's funny you say that, because again,
not to get all Jesus on you, but we're going to get you here.
If you attend all these Catholic mass, or Catholic church, right?
Yeah.
You'll see that. You'll see a section of where certain candles are lit. Yeah. Obviously Mary, the mother of Jesus, and then you have some saints that they pray for, right? And as you're going through the rosary, or as you're going through some type of prayer, again, through intercession, you're doing this prayer again, and I like the way you put it, Rohi, is you're not doing it by yourself. You're doing it with a team of people that are interceding to go ahead and communicate to the ultimate God, right? And I think that's how at least Catholicism and or Christianity work to some extent. That being said, again, Saint Nick, Santa Claus, is in a way to an extent of what you just said, it's just that in modern day world with the commercialization, we see it more like, well, let's write a note of what you want.
Yeah.
Right? And you're writing Santa, I want this, kind of like the movie you talked about, right? And that's right, that little girl, she's not really asking for anything on her own.
Correct, yeah.
You know, she's asking, again, interceding again and saying, please look after my mother.
Yeah.
Right? And the Grinch, and I mean, again, we like to personify just about everything.
Yeah.
It's the negative vibe of Christmas, right? In a way, the Grinch represents that negative dark cloud of those people that don't want to have that Christmas spirit, that say, oh, bah, humbug, right? And we saw that with Scrooge, we see it with the Grinch. So, I mean, there's the good and the bad.
Yeah.
These two things, right, that come to some fight, the night and day, black and white, you call it what you want to call it, but there's always that opposite deal that's against the goodness in Christmas, right? And it's just funny how the Grinch portrays that, and we portray it as, don't be a Scrooge, don't be a Grinch.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I would rather identify with Grinch, because Grinch's whole thing was trying to get people to understand, again, when you're asking for help, when you're saying, this Christmas, this is what I need, he had the right mindset. He said, stop asking for gifts. Stop asking for all this ties that ends up in, basically at my place. Look at, when you look at like, what's his name? Jim Carrey's version of the Grinch, right? He talks about all your, these ties, and you guys just throw them away, like it's the Grinch's like side of trying to get society to understand. I 100% agree. Stop asking for the things you don't really need. Like, you don't need another tie. Maybe somebody does. Maybe they're going for a job interview and they need that tie, right? But I'm sure it's a very small population of people who are going to get ties for Christmas. It's just saying, look, really dig down in your heart and find out what is it you actually need. And if you don't really need anything, maybe you say, hey, look, I'm really good. Then put that effort and focus on somebody else.
Well, here's the Grinch, right? So I'm gonna,
Come on, Grinch.
I'm gonna go off on a tangent here, but you look at, like, for example, you talk about ties, you talk about fabrics, sweaters, everything in their mother, socks, pajamas, everything that you probably don't need is being commercialized.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go, you need this. That person that you love or that person needs this for you to have this. They need to have this, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. When I was a kid, as we were getting older, I remember socks started coming into the picture, right? And our thing was, what is this? Socks, right? But again, that was an easy, what do they call it? A stuffing?
Stocking stuffer?
Stocking stuffer. That was easy to fill that missing thing, right? Like, I'm out of ideas. You can't go wrong with socks, right?
Yeah, socks and underwear.
Correct. And my aunts, that's what I would get. I would get socks, and I would get maybe a scarf or maybe a shirt or something that I needed to wear. But most of the time, Joey, probably not. Probably not. It's a one-time use. You probably use it in 5 years, but you keep on hoarding it. It's over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I think I'm 50 years old now, and I've seen a lot of Christmases go by.
Yeah.
And I've seen, really good Christmases when I was younger, and then just Christmases where they're just like, well, again, this is just something that repeats every year. And to your point, we're not really embracing the true meaning of what it was with St. Nick, right? And that's probably what I have the hardest time is dealing with, is trying to cope with that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a time with family, which I adore, I love. We're healthy, we're together, but I can do without all the other stuff that goes with it, right? Don't get me wrong, the trees, decoration, all that, it's the gift that I sometimes feel like it's just too much.
Yeah. And I would say that, you and I both know the real Santa Claus. That golf tournament he puts on to raise, the gifts and stuff for the kids. And that's where I know we brought our kids out to the event at the end, and it doesn't click yet. They're still a little young, but trying to understand, like, when you say Santa Claus doesn't exist, he's right there. Look at this guy. He came in. he put all of his efforts to getting stuff for people he's never even going to probably see, right? That's Christmas to me. I mean, that's why I love that program. I'm glad to be a part of it. And I hope it continues to grow, because when you say what is Christmas and who is Saint Nick, he does exist. I can go check him out next December on his golf tournament, because that to me is the true meaning when you say Christmas, and a real example of somebody who is Santa Claus. So.
And thank you for mentioning that. And we put that tournament together, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least Justin and Santa Bag is what
Yeah.
they call it. Right?
Yeah.
The outcome of what it produces, and huge amount, a pile of toys, by the way. And
Yeah.
these all, I mean, that we don't need those toys, but
Exactly.
there's kids out there that probably don't have a Christmas similar to what we've experienced over the years. So
Yeah.
I think, that's what I believe, the gift of giving. It's not always
Yeah.
about receiving, it's about giving.
Correct.
Giving, whether, yes, we talk about the material things, we talk about your time, we talk about, other non-artificial things that you do, right? But for the most part, I think that went to a really good cause,
It
right?
did, yeah.
And maybe you want to explain on that, how that impacted these families here, that the Holy Family Table.
Yeah, they
serves.
should actually be receiving right now, because I think they decided to do it on Christmas Eve this year. But Holy Family Table is, again, I would encourage people who have never seen the poorest of the poor. Every day, 7 days a week, 365. That organization through our church is providing a warm meal to those in most need, and today, like I said, the gifts that Santa's event pulled in together, they're able to identify those children that are in most need and provide them a gift. And again, it's a sign of hope, I guess. I would, it's just to say, hey, look, other people out there are thinking about you and caring about you, even though they will never see you, they'll never know your name, maybe, but there is some people out there that still care about you, and it's a nice uplifting.
Yeah,
thing,
no, for sure, and I think that's the spirit of Christmas itself, right? Is that you'd be surprised what little actions can do, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they have a multiplier effect. You start off with this idea, turns out to be a golf deal, right? People come out and they said, you know what, this is actually good.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a gift, and before you know it, all these players bring a gift, and you have a mountain of gifts. Now, with little effort, I'm not saying it's a little effort, there is effort in it, but it's a contagious effort, right?
Correct.
Because once it happens the first year, then you can expect that, hey, I'm going to get to play golf, something that I love to do, but at the same time, I'm also doing something that's going to indirectly, help someone, right? And because once you bring the toy, you don't really think about it, right? Indirectly, though, we're going to take it out to this Holy Family Table. They're going to distribute it, and it does have a direct impact.
Yeah.
And it really helps out these families in need. So I'm very proud of that as well, Rohi. I know that we're wrapping up on 30 minutes, but on this Christmas, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. We want to wish you a safe Christmas. And more importantly, remember what Christmas is all about. Christmas is about, just looking at your family, the values, sharing that spirit, and the gift of giving. Rohit, what do you want to add with, and what do you want to add?
I'd just like to end, I would say, really want to say thank you, especially to those that may unfortunately have to work today and tomorrow. Again, the world still has to keep moving, and to the soldiers out there that are working on this Christmas, maybe losing a little bit of their family time, thank you for doing that for everyone else. So.
And there you have it. That comes directly from the Weekly Jargon. If you're not a subscriber yet, this is the first time you run into the show, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll look forward to providing more content. If you have any feedback, let us know. We're always here. Again, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next